Hey folks, Brian. We just got done finishing the latest session of my RQG campaign, A Stranger in a Strange Land, session 5 of chapter 1, A New Beginning. I may have to rethink how I'm numbering these chapters because this is technically chapter 1.3. Anyway, so spoilers. This particular game session review is on the Rattling Wind, one of the scenarios from the Pegasus Plateau. And in the description is a link to the live play if you like listen to that kind of thing. So we left the party back at the lake. The ducks were looking for what Lars thought would be a burial site underneath the water for the lunar warlord, believing that the bone chariot, the rattling wind, was in fact just a spectral manifestation. The ducks, do circle, circle, circle. Don't go so far out that you're going to where Englar was, and he got snagged. So they didn't go that far, but nothing, and they do this back and forth thing as they go further and further out, and ducks get out there going, hey, the chariot's down there. If you don't want to go any further, the chariot's down there. So they have the ducks come back, and they give them a rope. Hey, go and tie this off on the tongue or the pole or post, whatever, coming out of the front of the chariot. We're going to drag it out and see what we can do. Now, one of the concerns, issues, miscommunications that we had in our game was we got a 50-foot rope, and how far is it from the bank to the chariot? And they want to tie it off onto a tree, and there's actually a tree fairly nearby, but if you tie it off on the tree, it's not going to get to the chariot. That's a much longer distance. So there's some fumbling around on that whole deal. But the ducks go out, they tie it off. The couple people notice when the ducks, when they pop up, instead of popping straight up, they popped up, north and south of where they were. It's moving! It's moving! And the chariot is moving. Start messing with it, it's going to react. So it's taken off, just like from last time it came barreling out. They wanted to try and get the rope out in front so they can tie it off onto a tree, so when it comes out they've got some kind of control over it. But it's moving faster than the ducks can move, so it blows past the ducks, and the ducks are behind, getting further and further behind. It's moving through, and then it comes up onto the beach. And a Restra goes to jump on the back. Lars attacks with his battle axe. Angerlar attacks with his sword. And Subutai stages himself down the beach a ways and shoots with his bow and arrow. Well, shoots with his bow. They do send the Redsmith back to the village to get some of the villagers out here to help with they're thinking they have to go pull the cart out, the chariot out. And so she says, hey, I'll grab a couple of oxen and grab some villagers, see if they can't help. And while they're doing that, the party is pulling dead wood out of the trees, because they want to make a pyre. They want to burn this thing down. And the ducks offer up, kindling and tinder and fire starting stuff, simple things. But it's storm season, right? There's lots of wet stuff. But stuff in the trees that's dead, still there, fairly dry. And with the tinder and kindling and stuff they can get, they should be able to make a fire going that can then start to burn regular logs. And if you use some oil to help accelerate the whole process, that's always a good thing too. So, the party's doing that. She goes back, comes back. And that's when they send the ducks to go tie off the rope. Excuse me. So it's come barreling up. Arrestra makes her roll, jumps on the back. Lars attacks and misses. Ingvalar attacks and misses. Subutai hits. So the cart veers off towards him. He's looking for something nearby that he can, hide behind. There's a tree fairly close by, a tree, maybe a little larger, close by that he can use, hide behind, use to dodge, parry with what kind of thing, right? And it barrels across the beach. Well, Lars is thinking, okay, the rope is behind, running underneath the chariot. Let's grab it, follow along. As it goes by, the tree will take the slack and tie it off around the tree. Okay, but this thing is going at 10. They're going at 8. So they're going to be losing. And they don't want to burn their hands. So they're letting the rope slide as they have to. And I figured that the tree where Subutai is half bow distance, kind of like a 50 meters kind of deal, maybe more. Cause we were narrating all this at the beginning stuff, so they're trying to do this. It's taken off. It's going to get to Subutai at the end of the round. He's going to dodge behind the tree. It's trying to run him over. Actually, they just blow by the tree at first, and the driver with the chain whips at him. He gets hit in the head, but doesn't do a whole lot of damage. He's got a helmet, so he's okay. But then it turns, because it's going to come back and try and run into him. And then, run over him kind of thing, right? So he's, moving around the tree. Lars and Ingvalar are following up with the rope. It goes past the tree, does the whip, slams on the brakes, starts to skid around because it wants to come back at him. So it didn't really go that far, but there's only so much rope. And, I kind of, how much can you get around there? Eventually I figured out you could probably get two loops around the tree with enough to try and do a friction tie-off, which Lars makes his rolls for those. Does a strength roll as well to hold it in place, but it's not pulling strength to the end. It's stopped and turned. It's trying to run over. Hits Subutai, doesn't knock him over by the rules, but hits him in the leg and does so much damage that he goes down. And at that, Lars and Ingvalar kind of back off. Restra's been doing aim shots at the right chariot wheel. She ends up hitting it a couple of times, but not enough to actually take it out. It's coming around, so they kind of pull out thinking, if it's at max radius with the rope and it's coming around, where can I be and still be able to attack it as it comes by, figuring that's what it's going to do. So they back out, but it doesn't do that. It ran over Subutai, and then it sees them, so it's running towards them. And so they step back to get out of range, and it just reaches the end of its limit at the rope there. Another whip with the chain damage. Lots of misses with that chain. The warlord skeleton is doing the claw thing at Arrestra, who's in the back, but she's pairing with her shield, and he kept missing with his claw, so he's damaging his hand. Eventually his hand goes to -1. And the wheel goes to -1. So the chariot casts Cure Wounds, and heals both of those up to max. It had taken a couple of points of damage a couple other places, but didn't worry about that. But with the warlord's hand and the wheel, heal those up. Took like 15 magic points, and the rune point. Well, I've got all these rune points. Look, what am I gonna do with this all? So it does that. And then there's some skirmishing at the end here. Subutai scoots up against a tree, pulls his bow out. He's shooting from the ground. So the hit percentage. He's firing into melee, but one of the house rules I do um, deals with, okay, you've got the cart, which is a 4-hex creature, plus the 2 skeletons, plus a Restra, plus the 2 ground fighters. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he's got a 3 and 9 chance of hitting a friendly, which they say, okay, that's not that bad. You know, it's worth the risk kind of deal. An issue that I have with hit locations in RuneQuest. I love hit locations in RuneQuest. I do, and they're perfect for 1-hex creatures against 1-hex creatures kind of stuff. That all makes sense. But when you start getting larger creatures, if you're in front of a 3 or 4-hex creature, you're not going to be hitting the back legs. It's not going to happen. And if you're on one side, you're not going to be hitting the other side. You know, that kind of thing going on. So I had at one point was actually making separate hit location charts to adjust for that. I did away with that fairly quickly after that to just, okay, I need to modify the role or interpret the role such that it makes sense for his location. So, for example, you're fighting a 3-hex giant spider, and you're on the right-hand side, and it says left rear legs. No, it's going to be the right rear legs, you know, assuming that you've got the range to be able to hit that. Otherwise, we just make the medium, middle legs, that kind of thing, right? And but this creature, the Bone Chariot, has one hit location chart, which, for what it is, makes sense to me. For like a missile weapon, you're at a distance, you're just going to randomly hit something, right? But when you're up close and personal with this thing, it's a 4-hex cart. It's big. You're not going to be hitting, you know, the right rear from the left front. It's just not going to happen. So I did some interpretation. Mostly it was just side. I didn't have to worry about too much front and back kind of stuff. But another thing that I had thought about previously, but didn't initiate when we started hitting the cart, that I kind of mentioned afterwards, was the fact that you've got a chariot wheel, which is, you know, about a meter tall, so at a half a meter, you've got the floor of the chariot. You've got about a meter's worth of side, and then you've got, you know, another meter and a half of skeleton, right? And it actually has in the rules that the skeletons are up high like they're mounted, and so they're attacking down, so they have a modified hit location chart. Well, I'm thinking, well, if you're hitting up, you should have a modified hit location chart as well, right? And like we do with giants. That's what I was thinking. So, anyway, I just let it go, and I just interpreted, you know, right, left kind of stuff, based upon where they did hit versus what it should have been, kind of deal. So if they hit one skeleton on the wrong side, I just made the other skeleton, that kind of deal. And they're chopping away at it. A Restra gets a special on the wheel that actually puts it negative, so it collapses. I kind of fudged through there because it attempted to do a head-on with Lars, but he dodged out of the way, so I was going to make a head-on with Engrilar, which is because he was pivoting around the center point with the rope kind of thing, and just hit the other guy. But between those two attacks, because you only attack once around, right? The wheel got damaged, so essentially it's not going to be able to move. But we allow people to crawl, so I just had to like slide one more and make the attack, which actually took Engrilar down, hit him in the abdomen for a bunch of points, and put him double his hit points. So he was unconscious, losing a point a round, going to die in 10 rounds kind of thing. And in the cart, healed again. Lars goes around, pulls Subutai or pulls Angular back and heals him. Subutai's been shooting arrows at this point, so at this point, the cart's at full extension from the rope from the tree. Nobody around him, but there's Subutai right in front of him, so he drives Subutai. Subutai is crawling around the tree to stay out of the way. Um, the cart's got a 0 turn radius, is going right around the tree after him. Lars heals Engrilar and then takes off, and then Engrilar stands up and gets engaged. I probably should have been offset by a melee round there. I should have taken a melee round before Lars could actually react to go after the cart, but I let him go chase it. Since the cart's right there by the tree, there's lots of slack. I'm trying to figure out really quickly. Okay, there's like 6 hexes worth of slack here. There's 3 and 3 back, but the tree's not a full hex. So okay, yeah, you can get around there and do a friction tie off like we did before with the slack, right? Which actually keeps the cart fairly close to the tree and not being able to do much more. It attempted to do something. Well, after Arestra got the special on the wheel, the skeleton turned around and did panic on her. She missed her saving throw. I actually have the players do this, a reverse of the attack roll kind of thing with the spells. So they're doing a saving throw. Just reverse the resistance table chart. Excuse me again. So she missed. So she's freaking out to have her roll against her honor to stay on there or not. She's trying to think of what can I do. I can't cast spells. I can't attack melee. What can I do? Well, she started talking about, can I grab one of the skeletons? Can I throw them over the side? Well, no, they're all chained in, and that would be an attack. That kind of thing. So she's still in the cart around the tree. Lars comes up behind. He's going to attack. Subutai is still down. He's doing healing on himself. Engrilar comes up. He does a heal on Subutai and then attack the cart. Heal on Subutai, attack the cart. Subutai is attempting to heal himself as well. He eventually gets his leg up to +1. That's towards the end of the combat, though. When Lars got behind the chariot to attack, the skeleton turned at him, did the panic again. He missed his roll. So he takes off. And at this point, Arestra has also jumped off, and they're going back to where they had the pyre built to get it going. Well, they had told the villagers earlier to get the pyre going while they're attacking the chariot. But their idea is, let's go and get flaming brands from the pyre and come and just start throwing them inside the chariot, burn it down from the inside out. Makes sense. It would simply work. The question is, how long does it take to go from the pyre to the chariot? It's not like the villagers have got a handful of meter-long sticks that are this wide that they're burning halfway through, so they got a handle like a torch kind of thing. It's just not that way. So there's some kind of maneuvering on, okay, how much are going to be able to do this and that kind of thing, and are they really going to try, and that kind of stuff. Well, when Lars gets his panic, he goes to go help Arestra to do the same thing, encouraging the villagers to burn this thing down. And then another panic on Engrilar. He made his saving throw. Panic again on Engrilar. He misses, so he takes off, and that leaves Subutai by himself. So he backs off a ways to shoot with his bow. The cart kind of backs up and does a wiggle kind of thing to unloosen the friction knot kind of deal, and was successful. I did it, dex times 3, and it's like a dex of 7, so I had 21% chance. I forgot what it rolls in the teens or something. So it got loose, but it still is tied to the tree, so it can only go so far. But it's within range to do a panic on Subutai, which it does, and he fails. So he's panicked as well. So from that point, we start just narrating stuff. Okay, eventually the villagers will get enough burning brands, start throwing them in, taking them down, put them in the chart, go back, put them in the cart, put them in the cart. So it burns down. Some of the players, well, at least one of the players was talking about how much magic does this thing have, and how many hit points does it have, and that kind of thing. Because they had worked it down to 26 hit points, but then it healed up well over 30 hit points during the 2 heals it did. Yeah, at the same time it healed up the guy's arm and the wheel, it just went to +1 because it only had like 8 magic points left that could use. But it had 10 rune points. Spent 2 on cure wounds, and then the rest on panic. I thought about doing madness or the other one, the mind thing, but panic worked fine. You panic, you can't attack me. Good to go. I'll run over you. That kind of thing. So eventually, it gets burned down. There's some discussion on, is this enough? What can we do? Is this thing going to come back to life? So they make some cult lore rolls. One of the players who wasn't here playing, I rolled for him. He was successful. Well, pretty much burned it down. It should be dead. The spirit should not come back. So at that, they talk with the villagers. Okay, they bury the well. Next day they come back out. It's all ashes. They bury it up, and they tell the villagers to make a cairn, mark out, hey, leave this alone, don't touch it, stay away, kind of stuff. They deal with the ducks a little bit. There's some back and forth talk, but nothing severe. They get back to the village. They talk with the emissary about what's been going on and stuff. They take the Scopus and the 2 horses as weregild or ransom for the 2 warriors that came out from the clan that had been killed. And then they all go back to Redbird, to the clan, explain what's going on, explain what happened. Here's this for weregild, and it turns out the cope is about 700, and those horses are probably worth 150 each. That's 1,000. Weregild for warriors 500. Good to go. So they then go back to we're all narrating this. Back to Clearwine. The emissary's going to be with them. They do their spiel at the Queen League, explain what's going on, what happened, and all that kind of stuff. And she gifts them a handful of different sorts of things worth about 50 lunars, or guilders, or silver, whatever your term of preference is. And that's pretty much where we tied it up. The live play does run a bit longer past that point because I forgot to turn it off. So the next thing we're going to be doing is Subutai, the hunter, needs to go on the Great Hunt. He needs to get a shadow cat, or a shadow cat needs to choose him. And then we go our end of season phase, and we do Sacred Time, and then we'll start water season. And I've got a scenario for water season, which is actually based out of the Game Master Adventures. Which one is this one? Yeah, this is it. It's the Cattle Raid. So we'll be doing that next time, but that scenario is going to tie directly into the campaign layout that I have been that I designed for campaign 2. So that's where we'll step off, because after that scenario we'll be done with, I think, chapter 1, A New Beginning, and actually get into A Stranger in Strange Lands proper. We're also going to, I adjusted, my timeline is getting adjusted as I learn new things. For example, we'll be getting to 1627, but it was in 1626 that the Battle of 5 Queens occurred. I didn't know that until after Fire Season was over for my party. So we'll be doing the Battle of 5 Queens during Fire Season of 1627. I'll adjust things as things go along to try and tie it into the world as it is, as we know. Lars had been wondering about some repercussions from not going down to Kars and following Caroman. Caroman? No, following Kareen. There we go. Following Kareen. And I've got stuff that's happening in the bay because of that. I've also got some world stuff happening on the Creek Stream River or maybe the Lyxos River. One of those two parts. Some increased pirate activity, which is some background world stuff that's been going on, just to keep things lively. Also, the upland marsh is kind of where campaign 2 is centered around. Um, and there's gonna be some stuff about the upland marsh um, uh, expanding this next year, which will provide some more scenario stuff for me to run for these guys. Only thing, 25 minutes out. Happy gaming.